Greetings, sailors. It's great to have you back for another episode of the Navigare webinare. We have a really exciting program today. As a matter of fact, I believe we had more people signing up for it in the shortest amount of time of any of our webinars. And it's a really hot topic. We're going to be talking about electric power for sailboats. And some of you know that I ran a Lagoon dealership for quite some time. About a decade ago, Lagoon tried out an electric boat and didn't work out so well for them. I think they were a little bit ahead of their time. We've moved into a new era with lots of advances, and I'm quite interested to find out more about where we stand today in this on this webinar. And for the second webinar in a row, we have a yacht manufacturer with us. So very exciting. I was fortunate enough to arrange this webinar with Ron Patston and Jack Matz, two of the owners of Group Island Spirit, manufacturer of the Island Spirit catamarans. And the yachts are manufactured in a state-of-the-art facility in Thailand. It's incredibly early for Ron, so hats off to you. I think it's somewhere around 5 in the morning your time. And Jack, luckily you're in Texas and at a reasonable hour. In addition to manufacturing yachts, Group Island Spirit has a magnificent charter operation and is our partner for yacht charter in Thailand. I just have to say that right before COVID shut everything down, I was lucky enough to sail in Thailand, and I cannot wait to get back. You'll find, by the way, if you're scrolling around on your screen, please look for the chat button. Go ahead and find the chat button right now. And if you would just like to say hello and let us know you're there, that would be wonderful. We can, that's where you're going to be able to ask questions. So we want to get as many questions as we can. This is the topic. Hello, Joaquin. Thank you. Brad. Hello, Doug. All right. Hello from Columbus, Ohio, says Doug. So glad you found that. Start thinking of questions, take notes, and we're just going to jump right in. I'm going to address the first question to Ron. And again, thanks for joining us at this ungodly hour. And I hope you have gotten a cup of coffee down. There's been a big push for electric power in cruising sailboats. And since most of the participants may not be aware of Island Spirit, can you tell us a little bit about the company?
Sure, Phil, thanks so much. Yes, I've had my 2 or 3 cups of coffee. I got up nice and early so I could refresh my mind and get it up and active before I got live here on the webinar. Originally, Island Spirits were built in South Africa from about 1998 to about 2005, with most of them being shipped into the US market, actually. So you'll still find them on Yacht World, for instance, as used catamarans out there and available. Production was moved into Thailand in about 2012, and then we launched a newly designed Island Spirit 380 in 2014. Since that time, we've been building in Thailand and primarily selling into the Southeast Asian market and a lot into our own charter fleets, because it was a very cost-effective alternative to getting the French manufactured boats all the way from France over to China or over to Thailand and into charter. As you mentioned, we're a bit different than other manufacturers as we build boats, but we're also the largest charter operator in Thailand. So we have continual feedback from our boats, from our charter clients, from our base managers, et cetera, that we use as really real-time feedback into the development of the boats as we move forward. So we bring a really unique perspective as a builder and an operator, which I don't know of anyone else out there that's doing that right now.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, congratulations on the design of the recent Island Spirit 525E, the electric powered 52-foot catamaran that you're getting set to build. If I understand correctly, you have a bit of a background in building electric boats.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Lagoon, I think originally came out with that boat, their electric boats in around 2008. Uh, when we launched the Island Spirit 380, we had a couple of clients that came to us that wanted electric boats. So we invested the time and effort into the research and the study of electric power at the time. And we actually launched the Island Spirit 380, our 38 footer in 2015 in one model that was fully electric. At the time, we did a lot of research on it. We did a lot of sea trials and such because also as a charter operator, we saw it as an ideal alternative in being able to put it in our charter fleet and really lower the maintenance costs and the downtime of the boats due to all the issues that you run into with diesel engines, with seawater pumps, with all the different things that go wrong when a boat's out on charter. At the time, though, we determined that it really didn't have the range necessary or the capacity necessary to effectively put it out on charter with clients. Now, a lot has changed since 2015, and we recently upgraded that boat with new batteries. And we were able to put new batteries in the boat here, what is that, 7 years later? That doubled the capacity of the batteries, which effectively doubled the range in less space and the same weight at a lower cost than original. So we expect that trend to continue. And we're to the point now with the work we've done recently that we think it's time that the technology is there and it can be implemented and put out into charter boats and into general boats altogether at this point.
Yeah, quite interesting what you were mentioning about the maintenance side. Navigare, as hopefully everybody on the webinar knows, is a charter company, and being able to maintain our boats is a top priority. You had mentioned a couple of things, and I didn't even think about not just the engines, but also the water pumps and exhaust and other things associated with diesel engines. What are you finding on the maintenance side that is easier about the electric engines?
Well, on the one that we've had in service for quite some time, there's virtually zero maintenance. The batteries are self-contained. They're not like lead acid batteries. The engines and the drive systems are all self-contained. So other than your normal maintenance that you need to do to the boat, hauling it out, changing your anodes, that kind of thing that you can't really change from electric diesel due to sea growth. We see the maintenance aspects of the drive system go from where we had regularly scheduled maintenance for oil changes, for impeller changes, for all these things, really go down to virtually zero.
Okay, and the systems that you're using in these boats, when I think of diesel engines, I think of the engine, but then I think of either a gearbox or a sail drive. Can you tell us a little bit about the drivetrains that you're using and in some of the boats you're currently producing?
Sure. The systems that we're putting in are relatively straightforward, and we've strived to keep them as simple as possible. So these will be shaft drive. They won't be sail drive driven. So we'll have a shaft drive system in the boat. As far as the specifics of the systems we're putting in, I really don't want to go into a lot of details because that's proprietary. It's an extremely competitive field right now. Okay. What I can say is within our manufacturing facility, we're building the Island Spirit sailing catamarans, and we also in 2020 purchased a manufacturer of commercial power catamarans, Catamarans. The commercial market, especially in Thailand, also has very high demands now for electric boats. So we're actually approaching the electric boat side from both the sailing catamaran market and from the commercial catamaran market. So in our development, the approach we've taken is we've developed an entire system, and our system is designed to be scalable across our range of boats. So for instance, you've got standard systems display, that type of thing, standard controllers, standard system control units. And the difference between putting that on a commercial boat, when I say commercial, these are not huge. They're say up to 24 meters. And between a commercial boat and a sailing catamaran, being an all catamaran, so really the only difference is battery sizes and motor sizes. So to give you an idea, we're currently also building 24-meter 100-passenger tour catamarans that are going to be used here in Thailand, in Phuket actually, doing tours all the way down to PP and back on a day trip type basis. And given that they're power catamarans, there's 163 square meters of solar on the roof that's also contributing heavily since it's such a large boat. So that e-drive system is the same system we'll be using across the board with different size batteries, different size motors, but a lot of commonality in parts that are used on all of the different boats we manufacture.
Amazing, amazing. So you have the first molds built, I understand, for the very first Island Spirit 525E, and it's expected to go into production in May, if I'm not mistaken. And this is one of the questions, most commonly asked questions, when can we expect to get out sailing on her?
Well, barring any major disruptions in supply chain issues, we're expecting the first boat to be out and sailing in the second quarter of next year. And that boat will be going into our charter fleet, so it will also be available for charter. So that boat will be using for extensive sea trials, extensive analysis, et cetera, as far as it being out there to make sure we're exceeding all of our performance specs, which we've worked very hard to try to be very conservative on.
Oh, I can't wait. And how much battery capacity is standard on the Island Spirit 525E?
There's really a mixed answer to that solution, as we've equipped the boat with two separate battery banks. We have a separate battery bank from the drive system than we do from the house system, so to speak, because you have to think about what are the other amenities you're going to have on an electric boat. Now, a 52-foot catamaran, you would expect is going to have things like air conditioning, refrigerators, all this kind of stuff on it. So we need to have capacity to still power these amenities that are traditionally driven with a diesel generator on current boats. So we have a very large lithium bank for the house bank, and we've got a large lithium bank for the drive bank. The drive bank's in excess of 200 kilowatts, okay? So there's that separation between drive bank and onboard amenities from that standpoint.
Okay, so in excess of 200 kilowatts for the drive. What kind of range would you expect to see at different speeds with that battery power?
A 200 kilowatt battery bank is a pretty good sized battery bank. If you consider that the Tesla Model S long range version has a 100 kilowatt battery bank. So that will go 350 to 400 miles for driving a Tesla. Now, a 52-foot sailboat does not take the same power requirements as a Tesla. However, it's a pretty good sized boat and a fair amount of weight that you're moving through the water. So what we've done with this boat, it depends a lot on how fast you're going to go. Because as you increase speed, your whole resistance increases. So if you're powering, say, about 8 knots, you'll be able to get about 5 hours of operation. If you're powering at 6 knots, you'll be able to get in excess of 10. So the range, just operating with the battery and the solar panels, will give you somewhere between 40 and 60 nautical miles. Now, it doesn't sound like much. But also equipped on the boat is what we call the range extender. And the range extender is a fancy word for the diesel generator that you can use to charge the batteries or extend the range. And the diesel generator has enough power that it will power the drive systems for basically an unlimited period of time from the standpoint of how much fuel you have.
Great. And so in addition to the genset, I'm assuming it could be charged by shore power or and solar.
That's correct. It's being, the whole development is leveraging on EV technology that's already out there today. So you will require shore power to have a standard CCS2 EV type shore power charger. And in my discussions with marinas here out in Thailand, a lot of this is already going in an infrastructure, but it's being put in the parking lots, right? So I've spoken with several of the marina managers, and generally speaking, the power requirements are there to equip it into the marinas. But if you're considering one of these, that's something you do need to be aware of.
Okay. However, if you put as much as 3,000 watts of solar are available, that may take several days to top off the batteries. But
yeah, the challenge with the sailboat is you don't have the massive solar space available. For instance, we have on the 24 meters power catamaran. So we're looking at between 3 and 5 kilowatts of solar, but even at 3 and 5 kilowatts, it's going to take an awfully long time for you to charge the battery bank. So you do need to still rely on the range extender if you're out at sea, or the shore power if you're back in the marina.
Yeah, I might add, don't forget, we're talking about a sailboat. we might want to use the sails too.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. That should be the number one method of propulsion. And when we say electric power, what we're really talking about is hybrid. And so the electric power is the hybrid to the sails, and the genset is the hybrid to the hybrid, I guess. So you're absolutely right.
That's a way to put it, Bill.
Yeah. Most of us have been hearing about all the advances in the automotive industry regarding battery performance and longevity. And as a matter of fact, yesterday morning I was reading an article on a Tesla. They were doing some studies. They just hammered it hard for 100,000 miles. And I mean, as hard as they could, running it completely out of power and charging back up, off-road, trying to break parts in tough conditions. And after those 100,000 miles, they determined they had lost about 11% of the utility in the batteries. In the sailboat world, what kind of lifespan can we expect on a battery bank before we'd have to replace that battery bank?
Well, the technology that we're implementing in our implementation of all of our electric boats, we're leveraging heavily on currently available EV technology. So we're not trying to invent the wheel, so to speak, but use technology that's readily available and already in volume production. Okay, because getting that type of technology gets you also to a cost basis that becomes more affordable. So our first electric boat that we launched in 2015, we replaced the batteries recently, and that was about 7 years. But we replaced them. The owner wanted to replace them, not primarily because the batteries were bad, but because he was able to upgrade his capacity by 100% with less space and at about half the cost of what the original battery bank went for. So what that did was, what we see going forward is that when these boats get out to 7, 8, 9 years, it will be so attractive to upgrade the battery banks at that point in time, primarily to add extended range, capacity, lower weight, etc. But I would expect you'll get similar battery life out of these batteries that you get out of the electric vehicles, because it's essentially the same thing.
Fantastic. I just want to remind everybody about the chat box, and feel free to start asking questions. We will, assuming I don't get too long-winded, I'm going to try and answer as many questions as we can. We typically try to hold to 20 minutes. We're getting there. I know we're going to go over that, but now, when cruising sailors need to be, when cruising, I guess, sailors really need to be self-sufficient. Far less moving parts. You're finding then that these systems are much more reliable than the diesel, same boats with diesel power in your fleet.
We expect that they'll be much more reliable, yes. The approach we took to the system level development, we had some key factors involved with that. Number one was usability. You don't want to create an electric boat that's so complicated for people to operate. It really needs to be turn it on, put the throttle forward and go, right? The second thing is safety. The third is reliability. And then, of course, you want ready access to spare parts and components, and especially when you're looking at this is cost. The biggest barrier that there has been to electric boats thus far is the tremendous amount of increased cost over and above what your diesel solutions are costing today. And I think that we've been able to manage to get within an acceptable range of where this becomes more affordable for people. So our strategy is to use as much as possible existing EV industry technology that's available. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're basically trying to take the wheel and apply it to a boat, if that makes sense, in leveraging standard parts that can be bought, purchased, and put onto the vessel that are already readily available, which also creates the availability of spares and that kind of thing when things do go wrong, because they are boats. So that's the approach we've taken, and I think it'll provide a very high reliability over time. But we also stand by with our system level approach to be able to provide spares very easily and that kind of stuff when things are needed.
Fantastic. Now, in addition to the electric power system, the Island Spirit 525E has some very, very desirable pictures. I'm gonna put a picture up. Do you want to take a moment and talk about some of the highlights of this boat?
Sure, I can do that. Just to give everyone an idea, the design of the Island Spirit 525, which is designed by Albert Nazarov of Albatross Marine, is what is called a monocoque structural design. What does that mean? That means the standalone hull, along with the deck, provides the main structural components, which provides us with a lot more flexibility in bulkhead placement and all those types of things, as opposed to traditional designs that are not a monocoque design that requires specific placements of bulkheads in specific locations. We don't use any wood in the structural components of the boat. So all of our bulkheads and things are all vacuum infused closed cell foam, just as the rest of the boat is also all vacuum infused closed cell foam. So with this construction, we find that also that our boats are very, very quiet when you're under sail and you're traveling. You don't have all the creaking going on between the wood and the fiberglass structures within the boat. So this use of foam and laminates. Okay, so what do I mean by laminates? We also are using foam and laminates for the carpentry type work. So when you look at the closets and these types of things in the boat and our current boats, the doors, etc., these are not made of solid wood. These are a sandwich of foam and then laminates on both sides. So the doors and things are much lighter, etc. And this results in a much lighter construction, which is critical in catamarans for sailing performance. Weight is everything. In the development of the boat, the layout and amenities, we took an approach to utilize our combined experience. We've been operating charters in Thailand for about 15 years, but we also have other partners such as Navigare and a couple of other small boutique operators that operate vessels also in tropical environments. So the process we took in the development of the 525 was we came up with our own wish list here at Island Spirit saying, okay, based on taking what we've learned from the 380 and what we've learned from the 410, what do we believe clients would like to see in the 525? So we developed our initial wish list and got together with our team, and our team included all of our base managers. We iterated on that, and then we took that wish list and we shared it with our charter partners. So we shared that with Navigare, and Navigare then worked on it from their standpoint, said, love this, what about this? Let's add these different things. We then took that wish list and provided it to our naval architect as basically our definition of the type of boat that, or the features of the boat that we're looking to have. From that, it resulted in several key design features. It's designed for higher performance hull efficiency, specifically designed to support electric powering. So that was critical for us. It's designed to support the implementation of large solar capacity. So both the Bimini, which you can see there, and the aft sunbed are the main solar capacity spaces on the boat. We designed it with the ability to do a 4, 5, or 6 cabin configuration with ensuite head and shower. And additionally, it has 2 forepeaks up above, up forward for crew for those larger charters and things. It has a large aft dining area. So we got a lot of feedback from clients that they like to dine together. So the aft seating area will seat, once you flip the tables up, will seat up to 12 people. Then we also have the forward seating area, which you can see in the graphic here. What you may not be able to see is just forward of the seating area, you'll see there is like a stainless bar that goes around the front of the seating area on the deck level. And it's like, what is that for? Well, that is to provide sunshade above that forward seating area if you're out on charter or you're out on anchor, because we know from operating in Thailand, the sun gets very hot. So this is a built-in sunshade type capability to shade that forward area if you're out there having cocktails in the afternoon sun. The salon is designed really as a large social area. So instead of putting in there the traditional dining table and stuff, it's designed as a social area with a large galley, the ability to cook for several people, lots of storage, as well as the ability to put in, say, there a buffet type serving for all the folks that are eating out on the aft deck. We then have in the forward area, if you can see it there, there's a walk through from the salon to the forward seating area. Now, from that forward seating area all the way back to the aft portion of the deck, that's all one level. So you're not going up and down, up and down, up and down as far as getting through the boat. And that forward area is really designed to be an area where you can kick back. The other thing we wanted is, if you'll notice, on some of the newer catamaran designs with this forward seating area, they lose the trampolines. We got a lot of feedback from clients that they like to have some trampolines. They like to be able to be out there on the trampolines when they're out sailing. So we've maintained the trampolines there in the front. If you look at the side of the hull, the black stripe there, well, that's basically windows. So it provides ample natural light into the cabins so that when you walk into a cabin, it's not like a dark cave. Okay, you've got lots of natural light coming in, etc. And then one of the things that I think we take a unique approach, we work really hard for the ease of access for service to all the systems. We are an operator. We're familiar with working on these boats. Sometimes we work on some of these boats we receive and we like, did anybody ever think about how I'm going to service this? So everything that we do in the build of the boat, forefront in our mind is, how would someone service this if the toilet pump went bad? Or how would someone service this if they needed to get in there and change that? So that's really some of the key features that and approaches that we've taken on the 525.
Wow, awesome! I love the fly bridge. Does that table drop down
Oh yeah, I'm
into?
sorry, the fly bridge. I missed the fly bridge.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so the fly bridge itself, we've designed it for, it's a large fly bridge. It's got access from both sides, so you can get up from both sides. You'll notice the helm station is offset a little bit. That's so you're not staring at the mast. All the lines for sailing are run back to the fly bridge and operated from the fly bridge. You'll see this the aft mast configuration, which is very common now in the newer catamarans. And the flybridge area up there will actually convert into a berth, so that, you know, on those warm summer nights that you're out there chartering, if you want to be out there with the breeze, you can sleep up in the flybridge or even sleep down in the forward area. So thanks, Phil. I had completely spaced that.
I love fly bridges, so I'm not gonna miss that. Wow,
Phil, I might
fantastic.
add a couple of things. Undoubtedly, Ron, as anybody can tell us on this, is primarily his engineering background comes out. So we leave him alone because he knows more about the boat than any other one person that we have in the entire company. I noticed with some of the questions that are popping up, and I see Bobby's there. Hi, Bobby. The reality of what it is that this boat will do for the industry is probably what it will do for us. We're looking to make sure that our fleet over the next 5 to 6 years is probably dominated with electric boats. It does away with the maintenance, the cost for the operators that much less, and it's much easier to service. That answers a lot of the questions that I'm noticing popping up. My background is primarily from the auto industry. It was not in the sailboat industry. And as we got into it, car manufacturers pioneer most of this type of stuff. Tesla did it. They're building a plant not too far from where I live right now. And the reality of what they did, what held them back, was the lithium battery. Ron talked about the battery progress made since the 380 that we had put in place. We actually looked at a lead acid electric boat back in 1997 in Maryland, where they actually used lead acid batteries sealed to run an electric boat. The biggest difference on an electric boat for me, and I'm not necessarily a boaty guy, although I love boats, is it is dead quiet. It is absolutely dead quiet. The fact that they put, or we ended up putting a small generator when in fact it's necessary, even when it's running, compared to having a set of diesel engines running, there is no noise. And it's almost like going downwind with a spinnaker up and you don't hear anything. That's what's nice about an electric boat to me. There's also no smell. That makes great sense. But from the standpoint of where we are, we're extremely excited about it. I don't know. Are we going to go through some of these questions that are popping
We're
up?
going to be going
There's
through the
quite a few
questions.
here.
Yeah, we're going to be going through the questions, and some good questions. I hate to run too late, but why don't we start diving in? Actually, I've got a number of questions that were asked by participants or the attendees before they signed up. Most of them have been answered in as we presented the webinar. But what are some of the challenges in EV boat manufacturing that the team had to solve?
Got to turn that back to Ron. He's the one that stays on top of it.
Well, we've approached it from a complete system level design and leveraging technologies already in the EV industry. So what we get delivered to us is a complete system per boat. And when the system gets all tested and everything before it comes to us, and then we install it on the boat. What I've seen with some of the other manufacturers or some of the other approaches that have been taken by companies is they're engineering it piece by piece by piece. And with the challenges in the supply chain today, then that becomes quite a challenge. They can have 80% or 90% of the parts there, and they've got 3 parts backorder. So that's becoming a big issue. But with the advances in technology and what's available today, it is amazing how far the EV industry has come. I mean, you look at China, it has over 400,000 electric buses running on a daily basis. So that says, you know, the technology's there, it's mature, it is ready to go.
Yeah, yeah. So again, most of the questions have been answered that we were previously asked. There was one. There are a couple of questions. I'm not sure we're really set to answer on hydrogen and ammonia fuel cells. So I regret we're probably going to skip over some of those. Although I would be fascinated to hear. I did work with a hydrogen powered boat at one point in my career. And
The challenge you're in, the fuel cell technology is available, okay? And it's kind of a shame because the fuel cell technology is available and we've looked at it and the specifications on it, but the infrastructure isn't there to support a rollout of where would I get hydrogen at my base in the BVIs, for instance, right? Where would I fuel hydrogen at my base in Thailand? So that was the biggest issues we saw. And it's unclear to me how or when that will be adopted for implementation of infrastructure, even for cars. You know, EV infrastructure is going in pretty quick. There's charging stations all over the place. But I don't see any infrastructure going in for hydrogen cars.
okay, here's a question from Brad. Back to the range, if you're using the generator to charge the battery, what's the range if in open water? I think we answered that really until the fuel runs out. So I would suspect we're looking at with a 55K, maybe a couple gallons an hour at a reasonable RPM. Days and days, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the second part of the question, though, is how long does it take to charge the batteries on an EV charging port?
On an EV charging port, EV charging ports are rated by how many kilowatts they'll provide. And they have two types of charge modes. One is a fast DC charge, okay? If you get into a 50 kilowatt fast DC charging port, which is the type of ports that we're putting in here, it's going to take about 4 hours to take it from, you know, your 10% all the way up.
That's incredible. I'm shocked by that answer. Next question from Greg and Jennifer. Can you add a wind option to the battery charging system?
A wind option. The challenge with a wind option is getting to the voltage levels we need to charge the batteries. So we have not explored that because we can take solar panels and we can run them in series to get the voltages up to charge the batteries. But I don't see how we could do that with the wind. We could use the wind option for charging the house bank because the house battery bank will be lithium based as well, and it'll be at 24 volts. So it's very easy to get, for instance, you know, wind generators that would be charging your house bank on a regular basis, and then making sure you're dedicating 100% of your solar to the drive bank.
Fantastic. If it's not proprietary or confidential, where are the parts made and sourced from?
I'd like to keep that proprietary at this point. Yeah.
Okay. From Elliot, are you using market available electric motors? Are you looking at the new eMotion high performance engines, 150 to 200 kilowatt motors, for example? That's a lot of horsepower or kilowattage.
We are using commercially available electric motors, yes, that are already in production and already used in electric vehicles.
Okay, but just as a side note, I think 150 to 250 kilowatts You know, if with diesel engines, we're probably looking at somewhere between 60 and 80 horsepower, less kilowatts, twice that. So maximum 120.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's really more power than you need for pushing this boat. You know, the drive motors that we're putting in are going to be continuous operation rated at about 65 kilowatts, which is similar to, what is that, 100 horsepower, or 80 horsepower, or something like that.
Okay, from S. Does it use easy to use, maintain for private use, especially the components that manage the drive system, software, hardware? By the way, wonderful cat.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow the question.
Are the parts easy to use, easy to maintain, and anything you want to say on the software, hardware?
Yes, the parts that we're buying that are integrated into the system are commercially available and can be replaced. So the goal here is that it is very easy to maintain. It's very easy to get spares. We also provide support as the factory. And from a maintenance point of view, there's very little to be done. From a software point of view, we will have the ability, for instance, on the charter boats to program it so that people have a limited speed, so they're not using up all their batteries in an hour, in a couple of hours, to make sure that, you know, they're not just powering all the, let's see how fast it goes, right? That'll be an option, but for a private boat, you know, that can be set up or not set up, etc. So.
Gregory asked, does the 5-cabin version have separate showers in each head?
What we've got is, you know, it's a 52-foot boat, and when we put 3 cabins on one side, it's very hard to have a separate toilet and shower. So on the 3 cabin side of the boat, you would have, I guess, what's commonly called wet heads. But on the 2 cabin side of the boat, you would have a toilet and a shower available. So it would be a bit imbalanced based on who's got what cabin.
Okay. How long would it take to charge the batteries using generator only? From Doug.
Generator only, you're looking at probably about 3 hours to go from all the way down to fully charged.
Again, that's incredible. I'm blown away by those charging numbers. That's pretty incredible. I regret we have pretty much run out of time. I do want to thank Ron and Jack for your time, and this has really been a very exciting topic. And just to let everybody on the webinar know, if you'd like information on pricing. By the way, there were a bunch of questions on pricing. Currently, it's just over about 1.2 million at the factory for a very well-loaded boat with most of the options, a tender lift, electric power. But we would love to talk to you about pricing for your individual design. Happy to do that. Happy to get together. What we'd like to do is, for those interested, put together some factory tours. Thailand is a wonderful place, and so we'd like to put together factory tours and potentially sailing on the sister ships, the smaller versions, well before the first 525E is in the water. So give us a call at 1-800-807-1562. We'll help design the boat for you and get very specific pricing. And on behalf of the Navigare team, we hope you enjoyed the webinar and look forward to seeing you out sailing. Again, Ron, Jack, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for coming to see us. Yeah.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.